All right, here we go. The Burning Success Podcast. We'll say our first-ish episode. Ta-da! And your co-host tonight, my name is Kevin Success. With me is Steve Hamlin, the Burning Dragon, and also future Hall of Famer. How are you doing
I'm doing good, sir. How are you?
tonight?
It's good to see
I'm
you.
I'm doing good too. Awesome. So, first-ish episode, and we'll call it first-ish because let's be honest, this is our third time trying to do this. Let's give a quick brief rundown of what this podcast is about and our goals, maybe, and maybe we can then transition to our first topic. So, how about I give it over to you and kind of start us off here with what is the Burning Success Wrestling Podcast?
I think the best description would be a in-depth look at the different varieties of fandom within the wrestling business. I think that I am a um, diehard fan. Uh, I'm just an unconditional fan. Have been forever. It goes through ups and downs. I'll watch it. I'll stop watching it. I'll go back to watching it. I'll watch old stuff. I'll watch new stuff. And my hope is to get other guests on here that have different opinions, viewpoints. There are different times in their fandom. Like, I guess I would consider yourself a
Die
because you're not
Hard.
new,
Yeah. Yeah, definitely not one that could go back decades or even probably 15 years. I couldn't tell you too much history on it. I think,
right?
yeah, what you would ever call you that, I don't know, but uh,
I kind of want to call you a fan,
a
not
box
like the kind you
fan,
put in your bedroom.
and
Like I
makes
don't know,
that.
you're in like a small box. You only like certain things
Oh, I
and
see.
maybe certain wrestlers
Yeah, there's a
and
limit.
certain
That's fair.
yeah,
Yeah.
not in a bad way, but like that
No, but
you
there's
like what you
boundaries.
like,
Yeah.
right? That's okay. That's a good thing.
That is, yeah, sure.
Boundaries are good to set.
Yeah. Yeah.
But and then so I guess in the grand scheme of things, I'd call it a like an overarching view of wrestling fandom, both ends of the spectrum. I guess to tell people kind of what our idea was and what we've been brainstorming over the past couple of weeks and months, maybe a month or two now, is just me introducing you to different wrestling, different pay per views, different eras, different maybe even different companies. We might
Hmm.
dive into some WCW, ECW, AEW, um, and seeing what you think of it. Be it that you're mostly a WWE
Hmm.
fan, wouldn't you say?
I would. I think that's most of my exposure. If I had to go back, the first, really, honestly, the very first company that I recall, maybe when I was like, I don't know, 7, 8, maybe 9, was WCW. Never got into it. A lot of my friends liked it a lot, and I tried, but it just seemed almost boring. It's two guys moving around in a mat. I definitely didn't appreciate what really was going on and the hard work it would take to get to where they were. And where I think I like about this podcast is that this I think will impact not just me but other viewers, and that's kind of what you were mentioning is the different fandom. So while we can call this a journey for myself to learn as much as I can, and we get to go over a few things, those who maybe aren't is maybe in the same boat as I am with limited exposure, maybe have only seen one company, or maybe hasn't watched wrestling a long time, or maybe a diehard fan altogether, might have also some entertainment in what we're gonna hopefully do for a while. So,
I think we should just give a brief history so they don't think we're just two dudes that met on like a Reddit or something.
yeah.
We didn't meet on backpage.com or whatever to talk about wrestling. We've known each other for about 20 years.
Hmm.
Um, Worked at Kroger's together.
Hmm.
We're in a bowling league together.
That's where our
Some
friendship
really
really
cool
took
things
off.
we did.
Hmm.
It
Yeah.
is. It is.
Yeah.
See, oh yeah, we backyard wrestled.
Most importantly, we like
Yeah.
we like doing it too. It was, we like look forward to
Don't tell
doing it.
people, dude.
Am I going too much
Yeah,
into
we did. I loved it.
it? Yeah.
Eventually, I'll have to bust out my old booking sheets. I know that sounds crazy but I do. I have them. I have probably two notebooks full of tournament ideas and storylines and stuff like that. It's pretty wild.
It is, and that. I mean, that's how serious we took it. We had championship belts. We had a website. We
Yeah.
had videos. Tell us about the YouTube
YouTube.
videos that we have still all these years ago, still on there. And
Well, they're still on there. You can find them. It's Some of them have 4,000 views, and by some I mean one. One has
And
4,000 views, and that's
who is
me.
that? It's you, future
That
Hall
is
of
it.
Famer.
The Burning Dragon, Steve Hamlin
That's right.
versus Blood Riot, I think was his
Yeah,
name.
yeah. Blood Riot is a great match. So we'll
Yeah,
make sure to include the links in whatever venue that we're going to put these
yeah.
podcasts on, including YouTube.
Go check them out.
Yeah, go
Give me
check them out.
5,000 views. Give me 5,000 views.
Bump up your numbers as much as we can. We'll
Yeah,
get you all the exposure it takes.
yeah. 15 years ago,
Yeah,
no big deal.
exactly. It took 15
But,
years, but you finally got to 5,000. Watch any of the backyard wrestling that goes on today with people. It's interesting. There's a special guest today with us today.
yep. And that's Nolan. He does not like wrestling at all.
Really?
Rip my heart out. No, he
Oh,
hates it.
well,
Finds it
and
boring.
that
And
was
I hate
my
to say
age,
it.
and yeah, I thought it was boring too. And I think
I'm sorry. You asked me a question before, but then he popped his head, and
that's okay.
I lost track.
Yeah, I don't know if you ever. Every once in a while, I'll watch some clips of YouTube, not out of my way, but maybe it's on a
Oh yeah,
TikTok or
yeah.
something of backyard wrestlers. Yeah, yeah. Ever see any of those guys?
Yeah. There's this one. Yeah, Tennessee Backyard Wrestling,
That's yes,
TBW.
yes,
I watch their TikToks,
yeah,
and they're like our age out there and coming out and dressed like, well, like they just got off work and then they're
yeah,
hitting the ropes. And
yeah.
I think every time I'm like, oh, dude, you don't want the Burning Dragon Steve Hamlin to come down there, son.
Dust to get the blow the dust off the boots and make your way to a different
Yeah,
promotion. Heck yeah, man.
yeah. Don't make me lace up the Nikes a little bit.
The Nike,
Get
they're
out
just
there.
gym shoes. Yeah,
Thought they were gym shoes and cargo shorts.
right. Let's be honest. We didn't put very much budget into the attire part of our business.
We should have though.
It could have
Looking
been a
back, we
game
should have
changer.
done a lot more.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's okay.
But it was fun. It was fun. I think anybody who's a wrestling fan and didn't backyard wrestle sucked.
Agreed. Wasn't really a wrestling fan. When you
No,
really get
you're
yourself into the shows, you want to just be like, I can do this. I can do this. I can hit these moves. I just need a buddy, and then next thing you know, you got a corporation and neighbors laughing at you. That's how you get your first real experience of wrestling.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We went over to a guy's house that we barely knew that I met in creative writing
Mhm.
class
Wow.
and started wrestling.
High school,
Where I
high
met,
school, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
He was a freshman,
yeah,
and we would have been sophomores.
yeah. Sounds about right. Yeah, you were a grade above me.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say that it's crazy how I start out meeting other wrestling fans, and I've noticed that it usually goes something along the lines of you'll accidentally slip up and say something involving wrestling because it's like this weird. You're not ashamed of it, but you just assume no one else likes it, or at
Exactly.
least I. And then they'll say something, and I'm like, "Oh, this guy likes wrestling."
Yes. Yeah.
And then if you're like me and Adam and a few other people that I know, maybe you as well,
Hmm.
you will slowly just kind of, you know, listen to them, slowly let it build, and you don't give them any information because you got to find out where they're at in their fandom.
Exactly.
Some people don't know that it's a work. Some people don't know that these guys aren't like they don't know that John Cena is not the master of thugonomics. Like he's
Right.
just a dude from Boston
Yeah.
that works out a lot. Like,
Yeah. It
and
was-
so I always like wait and wait and I'll listen and I can always tell where they're gonna where it's gonna land and how much information I give them. I don't want to be that guy that's like, oh, but on whatever 2011, blah blah blah, you didn't know that backstage this was going on. Like,
Right.
but and like I want people to be fans forever. I don't want to be that jaded wrestling fan that's like that guy botched and this guy back. Like when me and my kids watch it, it's like, you see that move?
Yeah.
Whoa! You know, I kind of feed into it a little bit because I got my fandom from my dad, and like he never let me in on the sea. He might not even know now that I think about it. Man, me and him gotta have a conversation. He might not even know wrestling's fake.
That's awesome. God, could you imagine? What do you mean it's fake?
Oh my god! My dad's like, "What? The Undertaker didn't really die? What? He's not a dead man?" But yeah, he never smartened me up, and I think that really helped.
Yeah, like I said, my friends tried to get me into it, and I didn't get into it. I even remember playing the the little wrestling action figure guys. He had a ring set and everything, and just like I said, I just never got into it. But to be honest, I think I didn't really have somebody to get me into it. I just have, as a matter of fact, it was more during high school where
Mm.
I was flipping through channels, and I think the first thing was SmackDown that was on, and I decided to watch it. And for some reason, I remembered these guys. It was the first wrestler that I saw on TV in high school was Kurt Angle. I don't know the match. I don't know what he was doing, but I remembered him. I remember him from the past, and I don't know why I remember him. But then all these other guys that just started coming through. I remember the Undertaker. Mick Foley was on at the time with his flannel. I remembered him. So it was almost like this nostalgia thing coming through where it's just like, well, this is kind of fun. I don't got anything else to watch. So maybe I'll just kind of keep going through it. And week after week, it was Monday Night Raw, Thursday, I think it was Thursday Night SmackDown at the time.
Yeah,
Yeah. Knowing that still, yes, it's fake. And I say high school, but now that I think about it, I think it was middle school because I remember talking to a friend about a Buried Alive match with Undertaker. It was a pay per view. I didn't get to see it, but my friend told me what happened. I don't remember the match. I just know it was a Buried Alive match. But yeah, now that I think about it, it was definitely middle school when I started watching it. But then through high school, I think I got more religious doing it week after week. But all with WWF, WWE. It wasn't anything outside of that. My friends, when I was a lot younger, it was WCW. And I remember Sting from WCW. His face paint was wicked awesome. But yeah, I think that's kind of just how I think I pretty much got myself into it. And then same thing with you, you don't really try to talk about it too much because you don't know how other people take professional wrestling. And it's always nice to find somebody who does. So, I mean, do you remember how you and I started to talk about it? And
Well, I know that it would have been after we started hanging out because at first the first time I ever met you, you were working at Kroger's as a bagger.
Yep,
I was a bagger.
yep,
I was standing in the magazine aisle
yep,
talking to a guy named Joe DeMuzio who also worked there.
yep. I remember this.
And you were walking by and you were the new guy and you still had a green name tag because you were underage.
That's right. Yes, can only work like 4 hours a day.
And you go walking by for like a price check. And I'm off work at the time or about to get off work. And I'm like, hey, new guy. And you're like, yeah. And I said, step into my office. And for whatever reason, you listened and you walked the 5 steps into the magazine aisle. And you're like, yeah. I'm like, you're fucking fired. And I go like that. And you're like, okay. And you turn around and just left. And you took it so well. I'm like, that's a cool dude right there. This is something I can work with. We didn't really talk after that.
Mm-mm.
Like we worked together, so we'd say what's up or how's it going. And then I ran into you at a bowling league because I was on a team with that Joe guy
Yeah.
and another kid named Kenny.
Hmm.
I don't remember his last name. He was from North Carolina. He was up here staying with his grandparents.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so and we needed a third guy, and he was standing down there like with a bowling bag, and he's just like, "I'm hoping to join a team," and we're like,
You're perfect.
"Gotcha, dude." Yeah, we've been looking for a guy trying to join a team. So it just worked out, and then you were with 13. Have you ever talked to him lately?
I ran it. So he's a security. Well, was, I don't know what he is anymore. He was like part of security for Cincinnati Museum. Had no idea. I just happened to run into him when I was leaving. But that was the last time I spoke to him. He was part of our NBWA days as well.
And
Yep.
that's what I was saying. Like all of our connections. And would I recognize him if I saw him today? Does he look any different? Or
No, I think he
long
looks
hair or
about the
anything
same.
different?
No, still the same.
Um,
Anyways,
But anyway, before we get off too far off track,
Yep.
I was thinking our first episode, since you're new to this, and I'm assuming you don't know anything past like 2005,
I think that's fair.
really?
Yeah, because around then I was getting back into it. I think it took a couple of years to really like. Okay, it's Monday night. It's after school. Time for Raw. It's Thursday night time. Before then, I think yeah.
Well, what about? Well, okay. Full transparency. We
Yes.
were supposed to film this in September.
Yes.
So I was going to say go back to 1996 September. The pay per view is called WWE In Your House Mind Games on Peacock.
Which I think was WWF at
Um,
the time, right? WWF.
It was correct.
Yeah.
WWF.
Okay.
They didn't go to WWE till 2001, maybe.
2001. Okay.
It was 2001.
Impressive.
But you seemed interested. You seemed eager. So in our first episode, we'll jump in and, or, our officially first episode, we'll jump in and review that.
I think that's a good idea. And maybe that's what we'll kind of do in our podcast, is kind of look at different events. But that sounds like a good idea. Our first one should be, like you said, um, Mind Games 1996. I like that. Do we want to? Can you remind us anything about of that, or should we just wait to our next episode to kind of talk about what the matches were and all that? Because what'll be neat, I think, is that you're like an encyclopedia. So I feel like every episode you'll probably give us some good information about whatever the topic might be in whatever event. Not to put you on the spot or
Yeah, and then I dropped the ball. No, it was Mind Game. It's I'm sorry, Mind Games. Shawn Michaels is champion. Bret Hart is off filming something. We
anything.
get Mankind versus Shawn Michaels as the main event.
Mm,
Super underrated,
mm,
um, undervalued. I don't think very many people talk about it. History as you're going into. Well, we'll talk about that one.
mhm,
Yeah, it's 1996, end of the year, and I know there's a strap match on it for
mm,
sure.
mm.
And I want to say there's a little bit of ECW sprinkled in there.
Interesting. Now, what's that about? ECW. I know that's a different promotion or an organization altogether. They were trying to cross promote or something.
I think the story goes that WWE was using them as a unofficial, like training ground, kind of like an NXT now.
Yeah,
They used to call it like a feeder system
yeah.
for baseball, and they were giving them a little bit of money to keep them in business. And I guess that Paul Heyman wanted to do a little cross promotion because this Mind Games takes place in Philadelphia. Um, so, and that's the home of ECW.
Yep, yep. Well, that's a perfect. And I mean, I'm assuming the crowd probably got into it a little bit. So maybe we can kind of look into see if that was the case. I just imagine, because fans love ECW, still do. There's loyal fans out there still. Yeah.
And I think all wrestling fans kind of watch a little bit of everything.
Mm, mm,
I don't think
mhm.
there's any people that are well. Actually, we know two of them that are like hard loyal to AEW.
True.
Josh and Adam. That's
Yeah.
mostly what they watch.
Yeah.
But the majority of wrestling fans just watch whatever content's out there.
Sure. And I'm sure if you were to ask them did they enjoy WWE when they were watching, I'm sure they would say yes. Maybe they don't so much anymore, but
And like I said, I'm sorry. That's just my take. I don't want to put words in their mouth. I could be completely wrong. And if we ever have Josh on the podcast, he can clarify.
exactly. I was going to say the exact same thing. Maybe and if that is his case, so be it's an opinion. We can't really get too upset about it. Yeah, yeah,
No, I don't
no,
get offended or upset about
yeah,
anything.
yeah.
Have any opinion you want.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. As long as there's some validity into it. I look forward to this, and then maybe when we start our show for Mind Games, we can pick another venue or pay per view or something, and kind of go through that. What other ideas did you have for this podcast? I know it's not just going to be about pay per views or shows. What else do we kind of want to discuss?
I'd like to discuss everybody's favorite thing, top five,
Top five.
top five, just of everything across the board wrestling.
Yeah.
I'd like to get into some of our MBWA things. Like I said, I think for some reason, and I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but if I were watching a podcast or listening and they started talking about them and all their dumb buddies doing backyard wrestling, I'd be like, that's hilarious.
Exactly. Well, any closing words before we kind of close it out here and look forward to our next episode?
The only thing is, I look forward to our next episode. I look forward to reviewing these things with you, getting some insight, interviewing some other people. I'd like to get my wife in here. I'd like to get a couple of our old buddies in here. I'd like to get whoever we can. People we I mean, if you know anyone that's a wrestling fan, or maybe you can find 13 somehow, and if he wants
Yeah.
to shoot the shit for a little bit.
And I think too, right now you can kind of tell we're doing this remotely. I think eventually we'll probably try to get together, maybe even more frequently than
Yeah,
just
yeah,
once. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool, like a special
yeah.
event sort of thing. Yeah, yeah. I guess that'll be it for our first introduction. Looking forward to our next episode. Again, it's going to be in your house, Mind Games. Looking forward to that. So again, not this time. Kevin's Success, future Hall of Famer, Burning Dragon, Steve Hamlin. This is the Burning Success podcast.
It's
Let's
time
get
for a
it.
comeback.
I love it. Let's get it. Yeah. We will speak to you all soon.